What's good, everyone? Welcome to PWD, the channel where we discuss pro wrestling. In today's episode, I am going to be discussing tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite, the February 8th episode, February 8th, 2023 episode of AEW Dynamite. And let's just get straight into it. We're going to be doing the review today, and I guess I didn't really know what to start off with because there were so many good options and so many good matches tonight. There was not necessarily any huge storyline hitting things except for one, which was the main event. So we're gonna get talking off right away with the main event, which was the Acclaimed versus the Gunns. Now, spoiler alert, if you haven't already seen the show, the Ass Boys are the new tag team champions. I'm not really sure how to feel about this, or I actually do know how I feel about this. Not that great, to be honest. Not that much of a fan of this finish, or not necessarily the finish. The finish was okay, just not that much of a fan of the tag title switching hands. I kind of had a feeling it was going to happen tonight when I realized it was the main event of the show. I kind of had a feeling, okay, if this is the main event, something big is going to happen here. But yeah, we'll get straight into the match. The match, it was a standard match. It was pretty decent. The crowd was relatively into it. The Max Caster's, his entrance rap was amazing. He said it in Spanish, which for this El Paso crowd was crazy. And of course, El Paso was a fantastic crowd tonight, by the way. Shouts out to all my Hispanics out there who were in El Paso for the show. Definitely one of the funnest crowds in a long time for sure. But like I said, I just had a feeling that something was going to happen in this match. Earlier on in the show, they did do an interview backstage. It was Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed, and they were interviewing the Acclaimed, and Billy Gunn ended up saying in the interview that he's not going to be out there at all tonight, and that he's going to avoid getting in between those two because it's the Acclaimed, which are basically his adopted sons versus his actual sons, the Gunn Club. And he didn't want to get into it. He didn't want to get involved. And when he said that he wasn't going to be out there at all, Anthony Bowens had a face, and I was just like, I kind of thought something interesting was going to happen. I thought that Billy Gunn was going to turn on the Acclaimed. I'm not going to lie. I thought that was going to happen tonight. They did tease it in the middle of this match, but it didn't happen. But yeah, the match went on for a while. At some point in the match, towards the end of the match, the referee got knocked out cold. He was completely knocked out. He fell outside the ring and he was out flat. During that time, Austin went to go grab the belt. Austin Gunn went to go grab the belt. He was just about to hit Anthony Bowens, who was just getting up from being knocked down as well. He was just about to hit him with the belt. Billy Gunn comes in for the save, but Billy Gunn picks up Anthony Bowens, and I thought this was it. He was picking him up and he was holding Anthony Bowens so that Austin could hit him with the belt. And I was like, wow, this is it. I predicted it basically. I really thought that this was it. I thought that he was going to turn on the Acclaimed, that Billy Gunn was going to turn on the Acclaimed, but he didn't. As soon as Austin ran towards Anthony Bowens to hit him with the belt, Billy Gunn threw Anthony Bowens to the floor, and he was like, stop, you're not going to win the titles this way. This is not right. Why are you doing this? He grabs the titles, he throws them outside the ring. Well, one of the belts, he throws it outside the ring, and he's like, you're not winning this way. Eventually, all men are back to their feet except for the ref. The ref is still completely knocked out cold. When I'm telling you the ref was knocked out cold, he was out for a good 5 to 10 minutes. He was out for a long time, and the Acclaimed end up getting the upper hand while the ref is still out, and they are able to hit the mic drop, but there's no ref available. You see Max Caster go out to the outside to pick up the ref. He does take quite a while to get the ref up because the ref is just dead weight at this point. He is able to get the ref up, but the ref is only able to count to 2, and then unfortunately the Gunns, I forgot which one of the Gunns kicked out, but they were able to kick out, and there was a few other mix-ups. This kept going on and on. The ref was counting. The ref was still knocked out. After that 2 count, it was an incredibly slow 2 count, but after that 2 count, there was even a few other counts, and there was one roll-up count as well from the Acclaimed on to the Gunn Club, and that was also extremely slow. The ref was just counting miserably slow, so the Acclaimed were getting quite screwed over by this ref being knocked out cold. And then eventually something happens. There's just more mix-ups. There was a lot of mix-ups. It's kind of hard to individually point each one out, but there was a lot of mix-ups while the ref was still dazed and confused, basically. A good movie, by the way. But while this was happening, eventually Anthony Bowens gets hit with the belt. I forgot which Gunn hit him with the belt, but Anthony Bowens gets hit with the belt while the ref is still not looking at all, pretty much. He falls to the floor, and he gets rolled up by one of the other Gunn members, the one who didn't hit him with the belt. The referee sees the count. He counts very slow, but that was the count of 3, and the Gunn Club is the new tag team champions. The crowd didn't really seem that interested in this at all. They were kind of like, that's the finish. why did the Acclaimed lose? And I think it was the same for me as well. I was just sitting there kind of like, why? I don't know. Like, the finish it wasn't necessarily horrible. I think that going with Billy Gunn turning on the Acclaimed probably would have been the better move if they wanted this to happen. If they wanted the Gunn Club to win tonight, I think, like I said, the Billy Gunn turning on the Acclaimed would have been the better option. It would have protected the Acclaimed a little bit more. Not that they weren't necessarily protected, but it just would have been a lot better because they even had Billy Gunn come out and help them and they still lost pretty much. I do think that Billy Gunn should have turned on him if they were going to do this finish, and you could have had a faction where at least you know that the Ass Boys have backup in their father, Billy Gunn. At least there's backup there for them, but them alone as champions, maybe it's just me, and I don't think that it's just me, honestly. I think that this is a pretty popular opinion. I don't see them as credible champions, and I'm not happy that they won this match, to be honest. Yeah, it was a weird finish. I think they chose the wrong decision going forward. I don't see the Gunn Club as a credible tag team champions at all, honestly. I'm not really interested in them. Their characters have never really been that interesting at all. And to give them the tag titles in this environment right now where we're at, just didn't work for me. I'm sorry to be negative as soon as the show opens. I did enjoy this episode of AEW Dynamite, but the first segment, I can't lie, I didn't enjoy it. But let me know down in the comments below what you thought. I want to know if I'm the only person who didn't enjoy this finish and just didn't enjoy the fact that the Gunn Club won. I just didn't think it worked for me. It wasn't for me personally, but everyone has their own opinions. So let me know your opinions down in the comments below. But with that being said, let's get on to the rest of the AEW Dynamite review because there were a lot of good matches and a lot of good stuff to talk about. Let's get straight into it. So the show started off with an amazing match. It was MJF versus Konosuke Takeshita. This match was fire. If you haven't seen it, you need to go check it out. There's a lot of matches on tonight's AEW show that you need to go check out, but this one was really good. So early on in the match, Takeshita did have his arm injured. So throughout the entire match, pretty much, he was selling his arm, that it was injured pretty badly. This was MJF's first match in 2 months. Commentary pointed that out, so that's pretty cool. It's always, an MJF match should feel special, and this one did feel special. So that one was really cool. It was a really good match. MJF spent a lot of this match working over Takeshita's arm because, of course, his arm's injured. So he spent a lot of it working over his arm. You know, he got the salt of the earth in a few times. He wasn't able to make him tap just yet, but he did have it locked in for a while. And then there was one really awesome move that I'm pretty sure you've seen if you're watching this review, but if you haven't, go check it out. Takeshita and MJF are both on the corner rope, on the very top rope of the corner of the ring, and MJF's on the inside corner and Takeshita's on the outside corner, and Takeshita hits MJF with a massive lariat, and MJF flips but lands on his feet. He doesn't completely no-sell the lariat because he's like still holding his chin and stuff, but he landed on his feet from the lariat. It was so badass. It was amazing to see MJF do something like that. There was another point later on in the match where MJF goes for a knee drop and he completely misses it. Well, Takeshita rolls out the way, so technically MJF misses it, and he hits his knee on the ring apron really hard, or not the ring apron, but the ring really hard, and he's holding his knee and screaming, and that begins where he starts selling his knee for the rest of the night as well. Later on, MJF picks up Takeshita for a power bomb. He goes for the power bomb, but he puts his knee out in order to strike Takeshita's back as well. But it's a nasty landing. It hurt Takeshita as well, but it also massively hurt MJF because he hit it on his knee that he had already hurt earlier on in the match. So that he went to sell on he was selling his knee for not only the rest of this match but for the rest of the night as well. His knee was in a lot of pain, so he hurt his knee during the match. I think it was just a work, obviously, not really anything. It's not a shoot injury, but it was a work injury. So there's that. And then towards the end of the match, Takeshita does go for like a swanton off of the middle rope. He was in the middle of the ring and he went off the very top rope for a swanton. MJF dodges that, and then he rolls Takeshita into the salt of the earth armbar, and he does win the match. It was a really, really fun match. It was like a 17-minute match to start off the show. It might not have been exactly 17 minutes, but it was somewhere around there. 17 to 25 minutes. I honestly don't remember, but it was a really good match, a good way to kick off Dynamite, and a good way to set the precedent that, guys, We have a good show tonight. A lot of championship matches. This one was one of those ones where if Takeshita would have won, he would have gotten a championship match against MJF, like the championship contender matches that they do occasionally. And after the match, MJF ended up hitting the referee, so there's got to be some backlash that's going to happen for that. And then he grabs the diamond ring and beats the hell out of Takeshita. He's laying hammers down on him multiple times. Takeshita is cracked open. He's bleeding a lot. And then you can see Bryan Danielson coming out from the back to save Takeshita, just like Takeshita saved Bryan Danielson last week. So that happened. Danielson came out for the save. He wasn't able to get his hands on MJF, but this storyline did continue throughout the rest of the night. That was like the overarching storyline of tonight's show, was that Danielson and MJF, they're finally going to have this match at Revolution, and we had to build to that tonight. And we'll get onto that later on as well. I don't want to spoil too much of it already. I basically already did, but we'll get onto it soon. After that match, Samoa Joe had a promo about Wardlow. He was basically saying that Wardlow may be coming to take Samoa Joe's championship, but Samoa Joe is going to take everything from Wardlow. So I'm really excited to see that match. That is going to be a big hoss match, and it is going to be incredible to see. I'm very excited to see where they go with that match, and this storyline is really cool between the two for the TNT Championship. After that, we had Jamie Hayter versus the Bunny. This was the same situation as the MJF and Takeshita match. If the Bunny won, she would have gotten a championship match against Jamie Hayter. Most of the match went in through commercial break, and I do think, and I think a lot of people on Twitter were also speculating this, but I noticed this as soon as it happened. I think that the Bunny actually ended up getting hurt. Like, she ended up really getting hurt in the match, and I think the match had to end really early. The match started off, it went like 2 minutes, it went into commercial break, and then like 1 minute after commercial break it ended. So most of it was during the commercial break. But yeah, I don't know what happened. A move was botched. There was like an exploding suplex that might have been botched. I'm not really sure. The Bunny was like holding her head, like her forehead a lot. She wasn't bleeding or anything, but she was just holding her forehead, and I do think that she potentially actually really hurt herself. I don't know exactly where or when that injury happened, but I'm most likely sure, and I can't guarantee this, but I'm pretty sure that match ended early. And a lot of people on Twitter were pointing out that the show felt a little bit like it got extended on the fly because of that, and you can kind of tell in some of these segments as well that might have been the case. I do think it's possible that, yeah, this match ended early. I don't think that they would have put this match on just for it to end like very, very quickly. But yeah, the match, there was nothing. It was unfortunate. I think that the Bunny did get injured. Jamie Hayter wins though, and yeah, I don't think it was supposed to end that way, but it did. And yeah, after that, we went on to Renee Paquette. She interviewed Saraya and Toni Storm. They beat up Leva, or whatever her name is, backstage, and spray painted like an L on her back and her front, and they were just beating her up. This is lame. I don't know what this is. I don't know what Toni Storm and Saraya are doing, but that was lame. It just reminded me of some like generic high school movie crap, like some high school bully crap. I was not a fan of that. And I'm not a fan of anything that they're doing right now, I'm not going to lie, but maybe they'll prove me wrong at some point. But then we get an amazing promo from MJF. So there, I don't remember the name of the interviewer, but she's outside of MJF's locker room saying that she wants to get a word. MJF screams for her to come in. MJF calls her in, and if you haven't seen this promo, go ahead and watch it yourself first before I describe it, because it's a little bit difficult for me to put into words and to how much passion that these wrestlers put in to their promos. It's impossible for me to do that because I am not them and I'm not telling the story. But MJF pretty much tells this crazy story. I don't know what the story was about, but he tells this crazy story. He's talking about Bryan Danielson, but he's talking about his past experiences. And he says that when he was in high school, when MJF was in high school, he had a problem. When he first got his blue Camaro, he sped a lot and he was speeding in it all the time. And he would get speeding tickets after speeding tickets after speeding tickets, and he was 1 point away from losing his license. 1 point. And he was bringing this up because he was talking about the dog that he has in him. But he was saying he has 1 point. And then there was one day after a junior high school football game when he hung out with, he was going to, they were going somewhere with his boys, I think he said. But he had him and his girl in his car, or his high school crush, he said. He said for legal purposes, her name is Liv. His high school crush, Liv, and her were in the car. And he was driving, speeding around in his Camaro while she was doing, and then he did I'm not going to do it because I'm not getting memed, but you could see MJF do it. He referenced that he was getting fellatio. And while he was doing that, and then he mentioned that when she was finished, they hit like a puddle or something like that, and they started hydroplaning. And he meant to hit the brakes to stop the hydroplaning, but instead he hit the gas. And he said that at 90 miles per hour, him and his beautiful, he described her as if he loved her. Him and his lovely, beautiful, dark skin, dark hair, dark eyes, high school crush, crashed into a light pole at 90 miles per hour. And he said that his crush's like skull or his crush's head like cracked his windshield, and that once he was able to recover, once he woke up from the crash, he heard sirens coming towards him. And he said that he looked over to his crush. He realized he was okay, and he looked over at his crush, and he said that his crush was like gushing blood, and she was knocked out cold, and she was just out. And he said that he put his finger under his nose to make sure that she was still breathing, and he said fortunately she was. And what he did while she was knocked out unconscious is he grabbed her, put her in his driver's seat, and he got into the passenger seat just so he can avoid a ticket from the police, so he wouldn't get his driver's license revoked. And he said the whole reason for this story was, first off, yes, he was like, I am a scumbag, but I have what it takes, and I will do what it takes. You can call me a cheater, you can call me a this, you can call me that. I am a villain. I have what it takes, and I will do whatever it takes to win my championship and retain my championship. And Bryan Danielson, you won't. You will not do that, and you will never get to face me for this championship. And yeah, this was a badass promo. You have to go watch it. It's a little bit like edgy, like not edgy, but it's gruesome, like almost. The way he describes it, it's like as if he was telling a real life event that is freaking atrocious. So go check it out if you haven't already as well. That was definitely worth a watch. After that, we had Ricky Starks in the Garcia Guevara Gauntlet match. This one was moderately fine, honestly. I wasn't a big fan of this. At this point, after this one, the show really hit like a low, the lowest point that it hits at the end of the night, because the next match does pick it up, but with the whole Jamie Hayter thing, the whole Jamie Hayter versus the Bunny thing, and then of course the Ricky Starks, this Gauntlet match, which was just completely whatever, honestly. The show hit a real low at that point. It does pick up though, and the show does get really good after this, but I'll go into it. So Starks started off the match with Angelo Parker. He completely destroyed him extremely fast. After that, Daddy Magic got into the ring. He was the second opponent to face Starks, and he rolled up Daddy Magic extremely quickly. So just like that, Starks has already cleared 2 opponents in the Garcia Guevara Gauntlet match. It's kind of a tongue twister, but yeah, after that, Daniel Garcia came out. He was the next one to take on Ricky Starks. Sammy Guevara was with Daniel Garcia ringside as well. And then it's just they go for a while, Starks and Garcia, but out of nowhere, some fan from the crowd with a luchador mask came when Ricky Starks was on the outside of the ring, or when he was on the barricades on the outside of the rings, and he hits the Judas effect on to Ricky Starks. And we knew at this point, obviously, that it wasn't a fan. Daniel Garcia grabs Ricky Starks, pins him for the 1, 2, 3, just like that. It was so whatever, honestly, but they were kind of telling the story that Jericho is so ready, or he wanted to avoid fighting Ricky Starks tonight so much that he just wanted to go out there and end it itself already. He didn't want Ricky Starks to get any further in the Gauntlet match. So yeah, Jericho gets in the ring. All of them are celebrating. Jericho takes off his luchador mask, and of course it's Chris Jericho. Commentary was already hinting at that to begin with, and yeah, it was fine. It wasn't anything crazy, but the next match is insane. But after that, we get the Renee Paquette and the Billy Gunn interview with what I talked about earlier, so we don't need to cover that necessarily. And yeah, the next one, there's 2 more matches after this. Both of these were amazing. The next one was Danielson versus Rouge. This was an amazing match. It was so bloody, it was so violent that I have so many notes on this. I'll try to get through some of them. I don't want to waste too much of your guys' time on this video, but I will talk about some of them. So the match started off, actually before the match started, they were actually doing an interview in Konosuke Takeshita's locker room. Renee Paquette was there with Konosuke and with Bryan Danielson, and they were in the locker room all together. And then right towards the end of the interview, right when Danielson's about to go out for his match, the door gets slammed, and of course it's Rouge and everybody else that was paid off by MJF. They're actually stopping because MJF paid $100,000 for them to stop this match from happening to begin with, but also he wants to avoid Danielson getting to the title, and he says, like, I'll pay you this much money if you're able to avoid Danielson from getting to the title. So they lock Danielson in the room. Danielson's locked in there for a while. Rush makes his entrance with Aubrey Edwards there as well, and the match obviously isn't going to start because Danielson's not there, but then MJF comes out to the ring and he's telling Aubrey Edwards, like, going by the rule book of AEW, you need to start this match right now. This match needs to happen immediately, going by the rules. Bryan Danielson, since he's technically not able to make it to the ring, he's actually forfeiting his match. That's what MJF's saying, and Aubrey Edwards reluctantly starts counting. She does a 10 count, and if Danielson doesn't get out there in time, that Danielson's going to end up having to forfeit the match. Then we go to a cut backstage where Danielson is trying his hardest to kick out of the locker room. We go back to the MJF in the ring, and MJF's just screaming. He literally called Aubrey Edwards a bum. He was like, "You bum, count faster." And Aubrey Edwards, of course, you know her personality. She was looking at MJF, and every time he insulted her a lot, and every time that he insulted her, she would just count slower and slower just for him, and she counted really slow to let Bryan Danielson get out there in time. Bryan Danielson eventually breaks out. He runs to the ring. He makes it in time, just in time for the match. And what a match it was. This match was incredible. We also had MJF on commentary as well, so keep that in note because that does come into play later. But what an incredible match. I'm not even going to get into the details of this match, really. You need to go watch it yourself, but Bryan Danielson was busted open badly. He was busted open extremely badly, and there was blood on all of the cameras. It was gorgeous professional wrestling. If you haven't seen it, like I said, go watch it. But there's one spot in specific where I was like, God dang, where Rush, so they're both standing on the ring apron on the outside of the ropes. Rush eventually like suplexes Danielson off to the ring, onto the floor, and Danielson, he was already really covered in blood. His face was colored. He had some color tonight. But when Danielson hit the floor from that move, blood splattered onto the camera, and it just looked beautiful. Like, anyone who's into violent professional wrestling, consensual violence, as Ollie Davis would say, this was what you love, because blood is just splattering everywhere, and Danielson is bleeding. His chest is all beat up. There's a part in the match where they're doing chops back and forth. They're trading chops. There's a part where they're trading headbutts. Like, they are going crazy on each other. The El Paso crowd is chanting C, 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 like, you know, the Danielson yes chants. At first they're chanting yes, but then they move it to C. Again, shouts out to all my Hispanics out in El Paso, because y'all were an incredible crowd tonight, and it was amazing having so many Spanish chants tonight. I really loved seeing that. Danielson kicks out of a straight jacket power driver. He hits the Busako knee, and Rush kicks out of the Busako knee, which was incredible. After that, like, El Paso is chanting "Si se puede," basically saying you can do it. They were to Bryan Danielson. They were chanting that the entire time for a while. It was amazing. Again, there was a brutal headbutt contest with each other. There was a slap fight. Eventually, Danielson was able to get the second Busako knee to win the match. But man, this match was incredible. For my money, it's either that or the MJF match that was match of the night, or the match that comes next. I don't know. There were so many incredible matches. But, of course, Busako knee. Danielson wins. Danielson beats Rush, and after that, MJF runs to the ring from the commentary table. He grabs the diamond ring and he's bashing on Danielson's skull over and over and over. Keep in mind, Danielson's skull is already bloody. Blood's flying everywhere, and it's just brutal. Like, earlier in the night, MJF did the same exact thing to Takeshita, but he only got like 3 to 5 hits on him. He is hammering in hard on Danielson, like, over and over. Eventually, security and staff from the back try to come and help Danielson. As soon as they get on that ring apron, MJF is swinging. He's hitting them with the diamond ring as well. Eventually, he goes to lock in the Salt of the Earth armbar on Danielson. He has it in for a while. Danielson is knocked out cold. He's not even selling the armbar at all. He's just completely knocked out cold. Eventually, enough security are able to pull MJF away from him. But man, what a segment, and what a feud these guys are having. I cannot wait to see the match at Revolution. It is official with that Bryan Danielson win. He is officially facing MJF at Revolution. I cannot wait for next month's pay-per-view, because this should be a very fun match, and I really want Danielson to win the title. I know he's probably not going to, but I love Danielson so much. I would love to see him win the title. But yeah, incredible segment, amazing stuff. After that, we got some like random Impractical Jokers interview. I kind of ignored it, I'm not gonna lie. I was busy doing something else during that time period. I was like, this is irrelevant, but it had something to do with Jericho, probably some sponsorship crap or whatever. And then we got the second to last match. The last match was the main event, was the Guns versus the Acclaim, so we're not going to talk about that. So this is the main event of this episode, and yeah, we got the Elite versus Top Flight and AR Fox for the AEW Trios Championships. I didn't take notes on this match. I literally just enjoyed it. It was incredible wrestling. Just like I've said many times tonight, if you haven't seen it, you need to go watch it because it was incredible wrestling. There was so many points in this match where I thought, holy crap, they're going to go with Top Flight as the champions, and Top Flight and AR, because AR Fox had so many near falls on Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega and AR Fox had a great bout towards the end of the match. The match was just overall amazing. There is way too many spots to try to go one by one and talk about every single one of them. But like I said, go watch it if you can. It was an amazing match. I don't know which one to choose of best match of the night, so much so that I'm not going to choose the best match of the night, but that was the last match of the night. We also have a Stokely Hathaway. He had an interview backstage. He's talking crap about Hook. Hook comes up from behind him. He grabs his arm and hurts him, blah, blah. It was a nothing segment, really. It was just to build the feud that Hook's having with all of them. So that is pretty much the end of this episode and the end of the AEW show tonight. It was an incredible show. There was a lot of good wrestling. The first hour lacked a lot because of the Bunny's injury or supposed injury. I'm just assuming that it was an injury, and people on Twitter are assuming the same thing. I'm pretty sure the match ended early. So unfortunately, because of that slowed down the episode a lot in the beginning. But that Bryan Danielson and Rush segment completely changed it. And that was a great match. Just back-to-back good matches after that. Incredible night of wrestling. It was a really, really fun episode of AEW Dynamite. Going by AEW standards, I'm going to have to give this episode just a flat 4 out of 5. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. It was a really fun episode. If you're looking for some good wrestling, definitely check out. I would watch the first match, probably skip forward all the way to the Bryan Danielson match after that. And you're able to watch the rest of the night from there. Again, the main event of the show wasn't the best. It was just an iffy change in titles. I don't understand why exactly, but yeah, that's going to go ahead and end this episode of the Pro Wrestling Discussions AEW Dynamite review, February 8th, 2023. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, subscribe to the channel down below because we do reviews like this weekly. We will be doing live watch-along pay-per-views. We got Elimination Chamber coming up next week, and so we're definitely going to be watching that live on stream with everyone who wants to come in and tune in. And yeah, like this video if you did enjoy it. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Love you all. I'll catch you guys on Friday to watch some more wrestling. I love you all. Peace.